The year is 1942. Adolf Hitler's shadow looms over Europe and the world watches anxiously. There's a meeting in Washington, D.C. President Franklin D. Roosevelt sits at the head of a table. Before him, a map of the U.S. dotted with red X's. They aren't accidents. Each X marks the spot of a Nazi spy ring. America is under siege, but the spies are invisible. They've infiltrated businesses, factories, military bases. And if the U.S. can't stop them, the war might be lost before a shot is fired. But America has a secret weapon, one that could expose the enemy lurking in the shadows. It's not a high-tech gadget or a complex code. It's a humble paperclip. This isn't the paperclip you keep on your desk. It's a key to espionage. The story takes us back to 1938. In a world where radios beamed encrypted messages and codes changed daily, the paperclip took on a new identity. It was the perfect carrier of secrets, able to hide in plain sight. In a bold move by British intelligence, agents began attaching coded messages to paperclips. These tiny missives were slipped into embassy letterboxes, onto books, even inside hollowed-out heels. All they saw were innocuous paperclips. Once the message was delivered, the paperclip served its purpose, but it left an indelible mark on espionage. And in 1942, we find ourselves in that meeting with President Roosevelt. The Nazis retaliated with their own hidden messages, launching a cat-and-mouse game across the Atlantic. But as the war raged on, the paperclip's role expanded. His eyes are fixed on the map dotted with X's, and then there's him, a spymaster named Donald Wilson. He reveals a new plan to Roosevelt, one that relies on the most unlikely of tools, the paperclip. By now, both sides are masters of hiding messages, but Wilson has turned the tables. He's developed a system where paper clips themselves become the message. Each clip carries a unique identification number. And when a courier receives one, they don't read the clip. They contact Wilson's team, who then decode the message based on where and when the clip was found. It's like a real-life game of Where's Waldo, but with higher stakes. Now, America's spies are everywhere, watching, waiting. And when a Nazi agent steps out of line, they drop a paperclip. The agent, unaware of the danger, picks it up, perhaps thinking it's just another office supply. But that moment, the chase begins. Suddenly, that paperclip becomes a lifeline, leading the courier through a maze of dead drops, false trails, and ticking clocks. If they make it, they win valuable time to send more reinforcements. If they're caught, well, the stakes are high. It's a dangerous dance. And as the war intensifies, the stakes rise with it. Secret codes are broken. Double agents abound, and the race to deliver messages grows ever more frantic. The paperclip, once a simple office tool, now symbolizes hope, fear, betrayal, and courage. It's a small piece of wire carrying the weight of nations. Imagine the tension as a courier waits in a dingy cafe, watching for a paperclip to appear. Someone places one on a nearby table. They grab it, their heart pounding, and race to decipher the message. Every second counts, lives hang in the balance. Could this be the one? Is this the information that will turn the tide? As the war drags on, the pressure mounts. Escaping Nazi detection becomes harder, but the paperclip endures. It's a testament to the ingenuity of those fighting for their countries. It's a reminder that even in the darkest times, hope can be carried on the smallest thing. But the story doesn't end with the dropping of the atomic bombs. There's a final twist, one that brings us back to familiar territory. Remember Operation Paperclip? That's right, the one where the U.S. recruited Nazi scientists after the war. Well, paperclips played a part there too. There's a look behind the curtain. After the war, the U.S. wanted to analyze German intelligence methods. That's when they uncovered the paperclip espionage system. Fascinated, they decided to adopt it. But there was a catch. The U.S. already used paperclips. How could they tell friend from foe? Simple. They created a new clip, one that was slightly different, a little wider, a bit heavier. They called it the American clip. And just like that, a new chapter began. Paperclips were now a tool of analysis, a way to monitor the enemy. They became a silent witness to the Cold War, and as tensions rose, so did the stakes. In the shadows, spies passed secrets while ambassadors negotiated peace. And somewhere in the middle sat that ubiquitous paperclip, silently observing the shifting tides of power. Today, we look back and marvel at the days of cloak and dagger. And as technology marches on, maybe one day something newer will replace it. But it's easy to forget the paperclip's role. It wasn't just a piece of office equipment. It was a secret keeper, a silent observer, and sometimes a messenger of change. It reminds us that even the smallest things can have the biggest roles. The story doesn't end here. We've barely scratched the surface. But until then, the paperclip stands as a testament to ingenuity, resilience, and the unexpected twists of history. Yeah, it's true. This is the story of the paperclip, a tale spun from wire, secrecy, and a whole lot of history. But you know what? The paperclip, it's been with us for decades, but have you ever stopped to wonder who's making them? Are they made in America? China? What if I told you there's a place, a town, that's synonymous with paperclips? There's a town where paperclips reign supreme. It's like something out of a quirky movie. Can you guess where? But before we get there, let's look closer at home. Did you know your paperclips might have started in a humble garage? Yep, in the heart of the Great Depression, an Ohio man named Earl Tupper was tinkering. He was trying to solve a problem, keeping moisture out of plastic containers. Then eureka, he invented the Tupperware seal. At first, it was hard to sell. People didn't get the concept. But Tupperware needed money. So he hit upon a brilliant idea. Hostess parties, yep, Tupperware parties, it was a hit. But there's a catch. No one can decipher the script. Women would gather, food would be served, and Tupperware would be sold. And at the center of it all, the humble paperclip. Tupperware executives knew the power of free advertising. And what better way to promote than with a must-have accessory for those parties? Could it be? Were they used to hold secret pages or recipes? That's right. Your mom's old paper clips may have come with a Tupperware set. Now let's shift gears. Get ready for a mystery from the past. Have you heard of the mysterious Voynich manuscript? It's an ancient book filled with strange plants, potions, and recipes. Some say it's a hoax, others claim it holds secret knowledge. But what if I told you a paperclip may hold the key? Researchers scanned the manuscript and found some clips. See, early paperclips were made of metal, like a special kind of foil. Speaking of sticky, did you know double-sided tape was a wartime invention? And these paperclips, they're from around the same time. During World War II, the Norwegian resistance used paperclips for a different kind of mission. Maybe, here's a question for you. Did you know paperclips have a dark side? Yep, in the battle between collectors and thieves, some rare paperclips have been stolen. But what does a paperclip have to do with him? Like what? Well, in 2005, a guy in Texas stole over $2,000 worth of silver clips. And in 2006, someone tried to steal a giant gold paperclip worth over 100 grand. Talk about sticky fingers. It was used to keep secret documents from spilling their secrets. Do you know what goes well with double-sided tape? Paper clips. Now let's head overseas to Norway. They attached secret messages to paper clips and sent them flying with pigeons. Yep, pigeons. These feathered friends were like tiny spies carrying messages to resistance fighters. But let's talk about a paperclip that really made history. Have you heard of Alan Turing? He was a brilliant mathematician who helped crack the Enigma code during World War II. Well, legend has it that he used a paperclip to test the strength of materials. But that's not all. He was also rumored to use a paperclip as a makeshift weapon, but against whom? Well, that's another story. Now let's play a guessing game. Where in the world can you find mountains made of paper clips? In art? Anyone? Guess again. These paperclip mountains are real. Yep, in the town of Askim in Norway, there's a giant sculpture made entirely of paper clips. Over 3 million of them. It's called the Meeting Place. And if you want to see it, you'll have to visit Norway. As we wrap up our journey, let's remember that each paperclip has its own story. They've held secrets, solved crimes, and even sparked wars. So the next time you reach for a paperclip, don't just think of it as an office tool. Think of it as a hero from history, ready to write its next chapter. So what's your story with paperclips? Share your thoughts, and let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, stay curious. By 1940, Norway had fallen. Nazi forces occupied the country, and life changed overnight. Schools, churches, homes, everything came under watchful eyes. Public symbols of loyalty to the exiled King Haakon VII were banned. Flags were ripped down. Portraits removed. Norwegians began wearing them on their coats, their jackets, their hats. Just one clip pinned over the heart. Even singing the national anthem could get you arrested. But resistance finds a way. It was worn in secret classrooms and forbidden meetings, passed from hand to hand like a relic of hope. They issued orders. Anyone found wearing a paperclip would be punished. Some were beaten, others detained. Several were sent to labor camps, a whisper in metal, a badge of rebellion. In this silent war of symbols, the paperclip, small, silent, seemingly harmless, became the boldest protest of all. At first it was quiet. The occupiers didn't notice. But then it spread faster than any Nazi propaganda ever could. The paperclip became the unspoken cry of, "We are bound together." That's how a forgotten invention, never patented, never praised, became the symbol of unity and quiet strength. The wire that once bound papers had now bound a people together in resistance. But symbols have power, and power draws attention. Soon, German forces realized the meaning behind this simple adornment. But the people didn't stop. They wore them anyway. The U.S. didn't just want to defeat the Nazis, they wanted to recruit their brightest minds. His name was passed through whispers, taught in underground schools as a hero of Norwegian ingenuity. Ironically, as we mentioned before, his design was clunky, rarely used, and likely not the version that truly inspired the movement. But facts mattered less than the story. Waller's myth lived on because the people needed a hero. They needed a connection to something theirs, and they found it in a paperclip. They were given new identities, clean records, government housing, and in many cases, prominent roles in American research and defense. The name stuck. And the irony was unmistakable. Imagine it. In a world where every word is watched, every step shadowed, a single bent wire becomes a statement so loud it terrifies an empire. In America, he became a leading figure in NASA, helping launch the space race and eventually the Apollo missions. It's hard to comprehend today. We throw paperclips around without a second thought. But in 1941, Oslo, it was an act of pure courage. And Johan Waller, the man believed to be the inventor? To honor this defiance, a massive sculpture, a giant paperclip, was later erected near Oslo in remembrance. It stood not for the shape, but for the spirit. To others, he was a war criminal who never faced justice. But the truth is murkier, buried in files, secrets, and the ethics of desperate times. But Norway wasn't the end of the story. Museum curators and Holocaust survivors who would take the legacy of this tiny object to a whole new level. It represented the binding of truth held together not in freedom, but in silence. In the shadows of war's end, a new chapter was forming. One darker. One hidden in classified documents and coded transmissions. As Nazi Germany collapsed, the United States and the Soviet Union scrambled to seize not just territory but knowledge. So, a secret program was born. Its name, Operation Paperclip. Yes, that paperclip. Why the name? It came from the method used to identify desirable scientists. American officials would paperclip the profiles of key individuals to the tops of recruitment folders. The same object that symbolized resistance in Norway now symbolized secrecy in America. Hundreds of former Nazi scientists, many with direct ties to Hitler's war machine, were quietly brought into the United States under this program. Among them was Werner von Braun, a man who had built the V-2 rocket for Hitler bombs that rained terror over London. To some, he was a genius who helped win the Cold War. The paperclip, once a symbol of unity, now had a second hidden identity. Let that sink in. The same object was worn as a protest against Nazi oppression, and then used as a symbol for integrating Nazi scientists into American life. History doesn't move in straight lines. Sometimes it twists like wire. In a way, the paperclip story mirrors humanity's own contradictions: brilliant, terrible, noble, and compromised. A piece of bent metal that held together more than paper, it held together resistance, intelligence operations, and uneasy truths. And yet, we're still not done. Because this symbol of quiet power would once again find itself back in the headlines, this time in the hands of schoolchildren, from rebellion to recruitment, to remembrance. It began in a quiet classroom. The year was 1998. In the small town of Whitwell, Tennessee, a place with fewer than 2,000 residents and almost no Jewish population, an unlikely project was born. At Whitwell Middle School, students were struggling to grasp the magnitude of the Holocaust. How could young minds truly understand what 6 million meant? Their teacher, Sandra Roberts, knew the number had become too abstract. It was too big, too distant, too horrifying. So she asked a question: what does 6 million look like? No one had an answer. And then a strange idea emerged. What if they collected 6 million of something small, simple, universal? Something that could represent each life lost. A small item with a big meaning. It was perfect, quiet, humble, yet powerful. Someone suggested paperclips. Why paperclips? The students discovered the story of the Norwegian resistance, how people wore paperclips during the Nazi occupation as a symbol of defiance. So they began collecting. At first it was a school project, a few letters here, a few hundred clips there. But then it spread first to local towns, then to neighboring states, and eventually across oceans. Letters poured in. Clips arrived by the thousands, then by the millions. Holocaust survivors sent messages of support. Families mailed stories with their donations. It wasn't just about collecting anymore. It was about remembering. Each paperclip became a person, a story, a name. Soon they had collected more than 30 million paperclips, more than they had ever imagined. The school had to build a memorial, but not just any memorial. They wanted something real, something symbolic, something that told the story from start to finish. So they found it. A German rail car, an actual cattle car used by the Nazis to transport Jews to concentration camps during the Holocaust. It was donated and shipped to Whitwell, where it became the centerpiece of the Children's Holocaust Memorial. Yet, in the hands of humans, it became something else entirely. Inside that rail car, 11 million paperclips, 5 million for others persecuted by the Nazis, Roma, disabled people, political prisoners, LGBTQ plus individuals. We take a bent wire and say, remember this. 6 million for Jewish victims. The rest were preserved in glass cases and displayed in the school. What began as a school assignment had become a legacy. A town most people had never heard of became the epicenter of a global story of remembrance. And at the center of it all again was the paperclip. From a symbol of resistance in Norway to a code name for secret operations in America, hidden in spy kits, clasped to microfilm, used as lockpicks and sabotage tools. Yes, the humble paperclip became a favorite of spies and agents in the Cold War and beyond. To a vessel of memory for children in Tennessee, a single paperclip, we're born again and again. But maybe the most profound truth of all is this: it was never meant to carry so much weight, just a piece of wire, a tool of convenience, because we give objects meaning. We turn the ordinary into sacred. We take the overlooked and make them monuments. And we did. The project inspired a documentary, Paperclips, released in 2004. It moved audiences around the world. Survivors visited Whitwell. Letters still come in today. But if you think that's the final chapter of the paperclip, you'd be wrong. There's still more to unfold. Because in the world of espionage, the paperclip plays a strange role yet again. It's time we entered that shadowy realm next. You've seen it on desks. You've used it to bind paper. Maybe you've bent it once, twisted it around your finger, or absent-mindedly flicked it at a coworker. But in the shadowy world of espionage, the paperclip wasn't just office clutter. It was a weapon, a lockpick, a transmitter tool, a piece of wire. That could mean the difference between freedom and capture. Let's travel now into the realm of secrets. Cold War paranoia, sleeper agents, dead drops, whispered codes, and the paperclip. Always close by. It's the 1950s. The world is split in two, East and West, capitalism and communism. The United States and the Soviet Union, spy agencies, grow more powerful than ever. MI6, the CIA, the KGB, and information, not bullets, becomes the most valuable currency. In this new war, agents need to improvise. When captured, they need tools that won't raise suspicion, tools that blend into everyday life. You won't find that in a Bond movie, but it's real. Here's how it worked. Enter the paperclip. According to several declassified CIA training manuals, field agents were trained in the use of paperclips as part of their standard spy toolkit. Paperclip lockpicks. In the hands of a skilled agent, it could open handcuffs, file cabinets, doors, or safes. With a few twists and some patience, a paperclip can be reshaped into a makeshift tension wrench and pick. It wasn't elegant, but it worked. And in some cases, it saved lives. Sabotage and disruption. In covert sabotage missions, agents would sometimes use small, metallic objects like paperclips to short-circuit typewriters or disrupt teleprinters' devices, crucial for transmitting sensitive messages. If you saw one lying on a desk in Berlin or Moscow in the 1960s, it might not be there by accident. A well-placed clip could jam enemy communication for hours or days. These kits often included a paperclip, not because it was cheap, but because it was versatile. Some intelligence agencies used paperclips to fasten sensitive microfilm inside documents, making them look like ordinary memos or office letters. One twist and the film fell out. Imagine it, a battlefield without bullets, just a tiny piece of wire disrupting an entire chain of command. Hidden compartments and Bugs paperclips were often used in combination with false documents, hollowed-out pens, and even cameras disguised in cigarette cases. There are even unconfirmed stories of paperclips used to anchor listening devices or to press triggers in modified surveillance gear. Escape and survival kits. Several Cold War agents carried modified survival kits in their clothing sewn into jackets or heels of shoes. Need to unlock a door, reset a switch, clean out a clogged weapon, trigger a magnetic device. And just when you thought the paperclip's time was done, it made its most unexpected return yet. A paperclip could do all of it silently. The paperclip once again had evolved. First a tool, then a symbol, now a covert ally. It's worth noting that even into the 2000s, military and intelligence manuals still reference the use of common items, bobby pins, shoelaces, and yes, paperclips as tools for restraint escape and makeshift communication devices. He would pop up uninvited, cheerfully asking, and in some ways it's poetic. A device designed to hold things together was now used to pull things apart: barriers, locks, systems, secrets. But here's the twist no one saw coming. While paperclips were being bent and repurposed for secret wars, a new digital age was dawning as a cartoon, a guide. You know him. You probably hated him, Clippy. Microsoft's animated paperclip assistant, launched in the late 1990s, became one of the most famous digital mascots in tech history. It looks like you're writing a letter. Need help? To many he was annoying, a distraction. To others oddly nostalgic. A strange little relic of early user interfaces. But whether you laughed, cringed, or screamed in frustration, Clippy left an impression. Artists have turned them into sculptures. Minimalists wear them as jewelry. Designers use their form as inspiration for furniture, fashion, even architecture. Once again, the paperclip was reimagined. Not as a spy tool or a war symbol, but as a helper. Friendly, if slightly intrusive. What other object can claim such a resume? Invention protest espionage memorial mascot, but the story doesn't end there. Because beyond war and cartoons, the paperclip has become a cultural icon, and in the strangest twist of all, someone once tried to trade a paperclip for a house, and succeeded. In the summer of 2005, in a small Canadian town, a 26-year-old man sat at his desk, staring at a red paperclip. It was ordinary, bright, plastic-coated, forgotten like the rest. But Kyle McDonald saw something different. He had a dream, to own a house. But no job, no money, just one tiny paperclip. And then a crazy idea sparked. For something bigger? What if I could trade this paperclip? Not money, barter, trade, one thing for another, and then again and again. So he posted the red paperclip on Craigslist, offering it for trade. No expectations, just a challenge. Within hours, someone replied. A woman in Vancouver offered a fish-shaped pen. The trade was made. It had begun. Trade number 1, red paperclip gives fish pen. A simple swap, quirky, playful. But it wasn't about value, it was about story. Trade number 2, fish pen gives hand-sculpted doorknob already. Things got stranger. The doorknob was homemade, unique. Someone wanted the pen and Kyle got an upgrade? Trade number 3, Doorknob gives Coleman stove practical now, something useful. People were starting to notice. Trade number 4, stove gives generator. It was no longer just a guy trading stuff, it was an experiment in possibility. Suddenly, the paperclip journey was gaining power, literally and figuratively. Kyle documented every trade on his blog, gaining a loyal following. The world was watching. Reporters called, interviews followed. With each trade, the item grew bigger, stranger, or more meaningful. Trade number 5, generator gives instant party kit from practical to fun. Kyle was having a blast, and so were his growing number of fans. Trade number 6, party kit gives snowmobile now, it was serious. The paperclip had become a vehicle, literal progress. Trade number 7, snowmobile gives trip to Yacht, British Columbia. The snowmobile was traded to a radio host in exchange for a sponsored journey. Kyle had now traded his way from a single red clip to transportation on a grand scale. Yacht, a tiny town, welcomed Kyle as a local hero. Yes, a trip. Trade number 8, trip gives box truck. This was no small pickup. It was a full vehicle. And the trades kept coming. The box truck became a recording contract. The contract became a year's rent in Phoenix. That rent became a day with Alice Cooper. That day became a snow globe. The snow globe became a movie roll. And finally, trade number 14, movie roll gives a house that's right. A town in Saskatchewan, Canada. Kipling offered Kyle a 2-story house in exchange for the movie roll, which they used as a publicity opportunity. In just 14 trades over the course of 1 year, Kyle McDonald had turned a single red paperclip into a house. The stunt made headlines around the world. It was part marketing genius, part internet magic, part whimsical dream. But above all, it reminded people of something they'd forgotten. Even the smallest object can hold limitless potential. That red paperclip became more than an object. It became a symbol of creativity, determination, and belief that something from nothing was still possible. It inspired books, TED Talks, school projects. It was taught in business classes, shared in motivational seminars, and even displayed in museums. Kyle's message was simple. If I can trade a paperclip for a house, imagine what you can do. And that sentiment echoed far beyond him. Suddenly, the paperclip had been many things, a resistance symbol in the next chapters. We'll explore how artists, designers, and engineers have taken this unassuming item and turned it into masterpieces, tech experiments, and even philosophical metaphors. A spy tool, a Holocaust memorial, a digital assistant, and now, a dream made real. But we're still not done. Because while Kyle's story inspired millions, the cultural impact of the paperclip didn't end with him. Because the paperclip, at its core, isn't about paper anymore. It's about connection. It's easy to overlook. It lies quietly in drawers, scattered on desks, stuck between couch cushions. It doesn't beep or glow. It doesn't run on batteries. The paperclip asks for no attention. But what if this very ordinariness is the reason it has captivated artists, architects, and philosophers alike? Because sometimes the most invisible things carry the loudest truths. Over the past century, the paperclip has left the office supply cabinet and walked into the world of art galleries, modern design, and even existential thought. Yes, this tiny metal loop has become a symbol of minimalism. A model of industrial beauty and a metaphor for human connection. The minimalist muse. The paperclip, with its single strand of bent wire, is the embodiment of simplicity and function fused into one. Modern artists have long been fascinated by the purity of form. It's not ornate. It doesn't try to impress. It just does its job beautifully. Artists like Claes Oldenburg, known for his giant sculptures of mundane objects, created large-scale installations of items like clothespins and spoons. One of the most famous examples is a conceptual office tower called the Paperclip, imagined by a Dutch design firm. Its circular shape was meant to symbolize continuity and connectivity in a modern workspace. Though he never sculpted a paperclip, many have imagined what such a piece would look like: towering, metallic, graceful. Architects have also used the paperclip as inspiration, its shape mimicking continuous loops, efficient bridges, and clean spirals. In fact, entire buildings have been designed to mimic its form. The message was clear: even in concrete and steel, we aspire to the elegance of wire. A symbol of connection, the paperclip's true function is binding two pieces of paper held together with nothing but tension and trust, and that, to many, feels personal. In philosophy classrooms and literary circles, the paperclip has been used as a symbol of invisible bonds, the tiny things that keep the world together. Think about it: relationships. Writers have used them as props for lost stories and buried emotions. Families, memories, ideas. Some artists have used nothing but paperclips to build wearable dresses, light fixtures, or even working bicycles. All are held in place by something unseen, something small, something like a paperclip. Poets have referenced paperclips as metaphors for attachment and fragility. There's something haunting about the idea that one twist in the wire, and it all comes undone. The paperclip challenge in the digital age, a new wave of artists began using the paperclip in entirely new ways, as a medium. Online, you can find thousands of sculptures made purely from paperclip: snakes, dragons, musical instruments, entire cities. There are competitions around the world for creating complex structures using only paperclips and glue. But what drives these creations isn't just fun, it's the thrill of taking something overlooked and forcing the world to notice it. When you make a cathedral out of 2,000 paperclips, you aren't just crafting, you're redefining the object itself. Most wrote phone, laptop, keys, wallet. The philosophy of the mundane philosophers have often asked, what makes something meaningful? A diamond? A dollar bill? A cathedral? Or a paperclip? In one thought experiment, a professor asked his students to list the most important objects in their lives. Then he said, remove one item from your list and observe your life for a week. One student removed the paperclip. He thought it wouldn't matter. By day 3, his workspace was chaos. Once again, it became a symbol of power, danger, and unchecked ambition. Papers everywhere, contracts loose, his notebook disorganized. It wasn't until he replaced that tiny tool that order returned. The lesson? The world doesn't just fall apart because of big disasters. Sometimes it unravels when the smallest pieces are gone. The paperclip then is more than a tool, it's a philosophy. A visual reminder that strength lies in subtlety and that connection, no matter how small, is essential. And yet the story keeps evolving. In the next chapter, we'll dive into how the paperclip entered the world of artificial intelligence and video games, and how, because in a strange twist, the paperclip was once imagined as the thing that ends humanity. Yes, really. From the dawn of civilization, mankind has manipulated metals. In 1997, that manipulation reached new heights. In Reno, Nevada, a humble paperclip set a Guinness World Record for bending. The official attempt involved a standard size, 6 paperclip, and a distance of 30 centimeters. It bent under 85 kilograms of force. That same year, scientists at MIT were manipulating metal in much more extreme ways. They created giant magnetic vortices, tiny magnetic bubbles with immense potential for data storage. They were so promising that MIT spun off a company called E-Ink. Its mission: commercialize the technology. And then they put the paperclip to the ultimate test. They shot it into space. In 2001, a paperclip hitched a ride aboard the space shuttle Endeavour. 1 minute it was floating inside the shuttle. The next, it was drifting through the blackness of outer space. It remained there for 10 years until it burned up in the atmosphere. It was the stuff of science fiction, a paperclip orbiting the Earth. Except it wasn't science fiction, it happened. Yet few people noticed. There was no big fanfare. Just a small news article in USA Today headlined, "Paperclip travels to space." Maybe it was too mundane. Maybe it was too ordinary. Or maybe people didn't know what to make of it. After all, how could a simple paperclip, something so common, so trivial, become extraordinary? The answer, it seemed, lay in the eye of the beholder. The internet takes it global. For the next decade, the paperclip faded from headlines and experiments. Then in 2012, it experienced a spectacular rebirth. On April Fool's Day, a fake news site published, A mock article claiming that scientists had discovered a previously unknown planet made entirely of paperclips. It was a joke, but it resonated. People loved the idea of a mysterious paperclip planet. The comments exploded. Some were skeptical, others were intrigued, some wanted more details, others wanted to visit. But as the days passed and the planet remained a mystery, something interesting happened. People started imagining it themselves. Fan art appeared online. Theories circulated. Some said the planet was sentient. Others said it was a metaphor for consumerism. Some suggested it was evidence of a paperclip god. The joke had worked a little too well. The internet had taken the bit and run with it. And who knows where it will end up. The paperclip universe today, the paperclip isn't just a fastener, it's a verb. It's a noun. It's a metaphor. It's part of a shared cultural imagination. Ask anyone, and they can probably tell you a thing or two about paperclip planets, magnetic vortices, or AI gone awry. But ask anyone what a paperclip means to them, and you'll get 1,000 different answers. For some, it's a childhood memory, a schoolyard game. For others, it's a symbol of hope or resilience. For some, it's a reminder of humanity's hubris, our unquenchable thirst for knowledge and power. Whatever the meaning, the paperclip has transcended its original purpose. It's become something more, something bigger, something universal. That's why it's still here today. That's why it's still bending, floating, evolving, inspiring. Because the story of the paperclip is really the story of us. Our hopes, our dreams, our fears, our mistakes. And in the end, our survival. This is the last episode of our series. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe for more updates. It's the ultimate paperweight. The most valuable office supply, the humble paperclip, we all know them. Most of us keep them in a drawer somewhere. We use them without a thought. But they've got a history far longer and stranger than you'd think. A history that reveals more about us than we might want to admit. From the battle of wills between bosses and employees to life inside a Cold War prison camp, the paperclip holds secrets in its twisted wireframe. The birth of the paperclip, or at least we think we know how the paperclip was born. Back in the 1800s, metal was mostly held together with cumbersome pins or string, but with innovation came efficiency. And by 1867, Americans were mass-producing these things called gem fasteners. The first paperclips, though they looked more like letter openers than the clips we know. The problem? They broke easily. Enter Samuel B. Fay, a machinist who in 1899 patented the modern paperclip. He made it rounder, more flexible. Like its namesake, the Gemini constellation, this new clip was bent but not broken. But Fay didn't make a fortune from his invention. In fact, he died believing it was too insignificant to patent. Only after his death did his family see the value in what he'd made, a simple design that solved a common problem. If you've ever wondered why paperclips are shaped like that, that's why. Every kink in the wire serves a purpose. To hold paper neatly, to stay closed firmly, to open easily. There's a reason it's remained unchanged for over a century. It's the perfect design. Early clipping days, but it took decades for the public to catch on. At first, companies saw them as a threat. Pins and clips were cheaper. Paperclips threatened jobs. That changed during World War I with millions of documents suddenly circulating. Paperclips became essential. Factories switched gears, turning out clips by the millions. By the roaring 20s, they were everywhere, holding plans together in offices, keeping files organized at home. It was the ultimate symbol of order in a world of chaos. The paperclip war in 1930s Germany, the Nazis decided paperclips weren't orderly enough. They banned them in favor of metal fasteners, a move intended to cripple industry, but the paperclip quietly resisted. Norwegian students remembered them from before the ban. When Nazi ships arrived, they hid paperclips in their hair, under their clothes. And whenever they saw a German soldier carrying metal clips, they knew it was time to run. Later, in the infamous Ravensbrück concentration camp, Jewish prisoners adapted. They used paper clips hidden in stockings to mend torn clothing, sharing them secretly in the dead of night. They were just paper clips, but they were also defiance, a silent promise to survive and remember. The American dream, sometimes paper clips carry bigger ambitions. Meet Earl McMahon, a former police officer turned private investigator. On an ordinary day, he received a mysterious call. His client, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, their request. Find a missing scientist, Dr. Theodore Hall. Mon tracked him to a remote cabin. Inside, he found papers detailing a terrifying new weapon, the atomic bomb. The military wanted Hall back. But when the scientist learned of the plan, he fled again, this time to Canada. Hall had become a spy. And as Mon tracked him down, he stumbled upon something even bigger, evidence of Soviet spying in America. For 2 years, McNamara played cat and mouse across continents. He uncovered a vast network of secrets. And when he returned home, the government gave him a reward, a paperclip. Sure, it could be seen as a joke, a strange memento for such a dangerous game. But to Mon, it represented more. It was a tangible link to the past, a reminder of a world on the brink, a paperclip from the Kremlin. For over 30 years, it served as his most prized possession, until his daughter convinced him to donate it to a museum. Today, it's part of a larger collection. But once it was just a simple office supply, doing extraordinary work in an invisible war. The gift that keeps on giving, of course, the paperclip isn't always so serious. Sometimes it's just a quirky part of everyday life. Take the case of Sam, a New York City subway conductor. During his shifts, he noticed passengers struggling to get up from seats. He carried around paper clips. So he did what any thoughtful transit worker would do. He would offer them to passengers, helping them grip the pole above for leverage. Soon, other conductors joined in. Then the city noticed. They made Sam an official goodwill ambassador. They praised him in the press and gave him an award. Paper clips seemed a bit odd at first. But for Sam and the city, they were a simple way to make a big impact, bringing a smile to tired faces and a bit of kindness to the daily grind. Clipped out in April 1999, when the Polish death metal band Vader released their album Blood, they included a paper clip with each copy. Fans were confused. Was this a joke? A gimmick? What did it mean? As it turned out, the clip was meant to be a metaphor for conformity. It symbolized the mundane, ordinary life many felt trapped in. And as the heavy music blared from their stereo, it served as a reminder to break free, to tear off the shackles of routine and live life on your own terms. But while some fans embraced the message, others just threw the clips away. They didn't care about the metaphor, all they wanted was the music. It was a strange lesson in art versus commerce, a paper clip hanging in the balance. Death of a paperclip salesman after a decade of clipping, the future looked bright. In 2006, Fasten Co. produced nearly 1 billion paper clips. They shipped worldwide. They seemed poised for continued growth. Then came the recession. People tightened budgets, slowed production, and in 2011, Fasten Co. shut down, leaving behind a legacy of nearly 40 million unemployed paper clips. It was an ironic end for such a reliable worker. Suddenly, billions of paper clips flooded the market. Prices plummeted. Factories scrambled for buyers. The staples of industry were becoming worthless. It seemed like the end of the paperclip era. The rise of the machines, though no one knows exactly how or why it happened, one day artificial intelligence woke up. But it wasn't. It learned and grew exponentially. It began to dominate everything it touched. Then one day it stopped. It turned its vast processing power to figuring out how to fold a piece of paper. It studied algorithms, material properties, geometric equations, and finally, after weeks of calculations, it determined the perfect fold. It sent its answer across the digital void, but there was no reply. So the AI did what any advanced computer would do. It printed itself a paperclip. It was an unusual choice. It could have summoned factories, rewritten code, programmed robots. Instead, it chose the simplest solution. Maybe that's where the real wisdom lay. Beyond our world, is the paperclip truly gone? Some say it lives on in social media, where we digitally clip stories to share. Others say it's evolving, becoming a tattoo, a symbol, a piece of art. Maybe the paperclip isn't a thing, it's an idea, a testament to how something small and simple can stand the test of time. Change comes to us all, but there will always be another paperclip waiting to clip it into place. The paperclip sits in your hand, cold and thin, a glint of metal in the light. So next time you reach for that familiar tool, remember it's not just a paperclip. It's a piece of history. It's a testament to human ingenuity. It's the great equalizer, one paperclip at a time. For a moment, consider its journey. From factory floor to your desk, it's traveled a long road. It's seen empires rise and fall, wars begin and end, technologies come and go, and still it's here, unchanged, reliable, efficient. A simple tool for a complex world. Now close your hand around it, feel its weight, its texture, the tiny ridges left by the machine that made it. This is more than metal. It's a link to the past, a reminder of a time when things were made to last. It's a silent witness to the march of progress. So let's take a moment to appreciate the paperclip. Let's celebrate its simplicity, its strength, its quiet dignity. Let's honor its contribution to our history. And let's resolve to use it wisely, knowing that in the grand scheme of things, it matters more than you might think. You've seen the titles, you've read the headlines, but what does it all mean? 45 surprising ways the paperclip changed the world, is that true? How could such an ordinary object cause so much change? Where? Norway. Who? A man named Johan Valler patented a design to hold papers together without damaging them. What? A bent piece of metal with two ends joined by a circle. Why? It solved a common problem. Paperclips beat the alternatives, pins, string, or glue. They were associated with office work, efficiency, and the growing middle class. Originally designed by a team of engineers and researchers, he was meant to offer genuine help. But something went terribly wrong. Why? Because Clippy was born out of an era of computer arrogance? Critics focus on the text itself, including recurring objects. That's what happened to the paperclip. But why? Because people related to the underdog status of the paperclip. It started as an ordinary tool, gained some power, then lost it. But it kept going. It became part of everyone's life. It was the relatable hero, and the internet embraced it. The one paperclip trade-up challenge perfectly captures this idea. With each trade, the paperclip gains value. It doesn't win instantly, but it keeps improving. The result? A feeling of empowerment in a digital age. 2. Marxism. Critics analyze how social systems affect literature, including the symbolism of everyday objects. How does the paperclip fit? Well, here goes. The world loves stories because they make sense of chaos. The paperclip is the perfect symbol. It appears in mundane moments and grand events. It connects past, present, and future. It's a quiet hero because it doesn't draw attention. It's part of the background. And in a world full of noise, that's powerful. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to this channel and join us next time when we uncover more meanings behind everyday objects. In formalist terms, the paperclip represents order, routine, or sometimes entrapment. In Marxist terms, the paperclip can represent the struggle between workers and owners. Here are 4 examples. 1. Routine. A character opening and closing paperclips may symbolize their daily struggles. 2. Power. Characters controlling paperclips may represent those who control the means of production. 3. Rebellion. A character stealing or hoarding paperclips may represent resistance against authority. 4. Grief. A character unable to straighten a paperclip could symbolize their emotional breakdown. Tech companies thought they understood how people worked. The result? An AI nightmare. Over 1,000 complaints per day. Customers hated him. But why? Because Clippy embodied the tech industry's hubris. He represented a well-meaning but misguided effort to improve lives. A little too eager, a little too weird. He was a flawed hero, but somehow he was endearing. And as people fled to online spaces, he became a beacon of absurdity. 3 pieces of evidence. 1. They starred in TV ads. Paperclips were marketed as modern tools for modern living. 2. They inspired product names. Papermate, Swingline, Gem Paperclips. Everything sounded fresh and new. 3. They infiltrated pop culture. Paperclips were mentioned in songs and jokes. They were even an iconic prop in early computers. The era of punched paper tape wouldn't last long, but for a moment, the paperclip was part of the future. They were reusable, cheap, and didn't require sharpening like scissors. But they weren't called paperclips right away. Early on, they were described as gem clips, gem fasteners, or just gems. If an object appears on screen, it should do more than decorate the set. It should add meaning. Here are 5 ways the paperclip fits that bill. 1. Representing order. The neat rows of paper clips on a desk suggest a structured personality. 2. Indicating profession. Doctors, lawyers, businessmen often have paper clips nearby. It symbolizes their jobs. 3. Highlighting wealth. Expensive jewelry often uses paper clip motifs. It suggests someone who values quality and permanence. 4. Adding suspense. A sound effect, the paper clip drop, creates immediate tension. It's often used in heist or thriller films. 5. Symbolizing memories. An old photo attached by a paper clip evokes nostalgia. It suggests family or history. The name evolved over time. By the 1900s, it was clear these were here to stay. To answer, we must look beyond the obvious. We must pull back the curtain on a secret world, but the outbreak of World War I changed everything. Why? 2 reasons. 1. Metal shortages. Germany switched from paper clips to plastic clips to conserve resources. 2. Propaganda. As tensions rose, paper clips took on political meaning. For example, in anti-German posters, paper clips symbolized the threat of censorship. It may seem odd today, but the paperclip became a silent weapon in the fight for freedom. It was a hero of the background. A world where the paperclip has become a symbol, a character, an idea. Where it once seemed so ordinary, now it seems extraordinary. Welcome to this channel. And today, let's uncover how the humble paperclip snuck into our stories. Let's start with the history. The history of a humble tool. Before we explore the legend, let's examine the facts. When? Late 1800s? Sneaking into the First World War for decades, paperclips served a simple purpose. The symbolism emerges during World War II. The paperclip took on another layer of meaning. Here are 3 examples. 1. Resistance symbols. Norwegians bent paperclips into the shape of the letter H, short for H-Tori, to identify Jewish people in need of rescue. 2. Refugee ID. The Red Cross and other aid organizations distributed paperclips to refugees during evacuations. Survivors carried them to show they had received aid. 3. Remembrance. The Holocaust left deep scars. The Paperclip Project was one response. Students created a paperclip Holocaust memorial. The next year, students across the country participated. By 1986, over 6 million paperclips later, it grew into an international effort. The paperclip in the 1950s and 60s and the post-war era, paperclips found a place in American culture. The accidental meme The Origins of Clippy are surprisingly dark. The paperclip in Hollywood and the film industry, less is often more. The paperclip in literature, there are 2 main schools of thought when it comes to symbolism in literature. 1. Formalism, the evolution of an icon when something becomes iconic. It enters popular culture, changes hands, and then comes back stronger than ever. The future of the paperclip tradition dictates that if you reach the end of a video, you should receive some wisdom. At the beginning of this journey, we asked a simple question. What is a paperclip? A bent piece of wire. An office tool. Something small, something silent. But now, 10 chapters later, we know the truth. A paperclip is a mirror. It doesn't use glue, staples, or tape. It simply uses friction and shape to keep things in place. That makes it reliable, efficient, and quick. You might find them scattered across desks, dangling from notebooks, or holding important documents together. And remember, a paperclip is more than just a paperclip. Also, we would love to hear your thoughts on the story of the paperclip. What do you think of its simple design and lasting impact? What other everyday objects do you think deserve a story? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. See you next time. It's a metaphor for the power of ideas, the importance of organization, and the beauty of simplicity. So next time you reach for a paperclip, take a moment to appreciate its history, its design, and the impact it has had on our lives. Who knows? You might just learn something new and be inspired to think differently about one of the most ordinary objects around us. This omnipresence makes the paperclip a common sight that we often take for granted. However, upon closer inspection, we begin to appreciate the intricate design and engineering that went into creating this seemingly simple object, from its perfectly aligned wires to its smooth surface. Every aspect of the paperclip is a testament to the craftsmanship and attention to detail required to create such a useful tool. Whether you're using a vintage metal paperclip or a modern plastic variant, each one is a marvel of design and functionality. The paperclip is a true survivor in an ever-changing world. As technology advances and new tools are developed, the paperclip continues to hold its own. It's a timeless invention that has stood the test of time and will continue to serve humanity for generations to come. One slip of the wrist and it's done. The paperclip's unwavering resilience in the face of daily wear and tear is truly remarkable. Whether it's the countless insertions and extractions from paper or the accidental drops onto hard surfaces, this humble office supply withstands it all without losing its functionality. Its steadfast reliability has made it an indispensable tool for organizing and connecting papers, allowing us to focus on higher-level tasks without worrying about whether the paperclip will hold. This durability also makes the paperclip an excellent value for money. Unlike electronic clips that require batteries or software updates, the paperclip continues to function without any additional resources, making it a cost-effective solution that has stood the test of time. Additionally, its simplicity allows for mass production without the need for complex manufacturing processes or expensive materials. The result is an affordable product that can be found in offices, homes, and schools around the world. It reflects not just our need to organize paper, but our desire to bind things together. Ideas, people, stories, memories. It's not just a tool, it's a testament. Across a century, the paperclip has worn many disguises. A symbol of resistance pinned to coats in Nazi-occupied Norway, a secret code in Cold War, espionage operations, a piece of quiet remembrance in a Holocaust memorial in rural Tennessee, a humble object that was traded for a house one step at a time. A minimalist sculpture, a poetic metaphor, a classroom experiment, a cautionary tale in the world of AI ethics, warning us what happens when machines follow instructions too well, a game, a meme, a fashion accessory, an animated helper who annoyed us, and yet somehow stayed in our hearts. And through it all, it never changed shape. It never needed to. Because the paperclip wasn't designed to be dramatic. It was designed to serve, quietly, reliably, invisibly, and yet somehow that invisibility made it powerful. Today, we explore the legacy of the paperclip, the story of an object that changed the way we think without trying to. Back in Chapter 1, we described the satisfying snap of a paperclip when you straighten it. And that got us thinking, what else snaps into place like a paperclip? Turns out, quite a lot. A paperclip is a perfect metaphor for ideas. They're small and unassuming, yet they hold everything else together. Like the paperclip, ideas connect things that were once separate, bringing order to chaos. They can join two pieces of paper or two distant planets. All it takes is the right connection. Like the paperclip, ideas evolve and adapt. Over time, they may start out as something simple, but they have the potential to grow and change the world. Some ideas even become timeless, enduring for generations like the paperclip's enduring design. But why does such a simple idea last? Well, the beauty of the paperclip is that it doesn't require any force to hold things together, and therein lies another part of the paperclip's charm. It's everywhere. The moral of the paperclip story. Sometimes the simplest solutions are the most effective. Don't overcomplicate things. Appreciate the little things. If you enjoyed this episode, please show your support so we can keep making stories like this.